Hi, Shah.
Hi, Maya. Hello, everyone. Welcome
Hello.
to another edition of Creative Writers and Illustrators. And we are putting the spotlight on Ameya Narwankar, who is the author and illustrator of a new award-winning book, Ritu with Chandani. The book has just won the South Asian Book Award, which is for excellence in books from South Asia. Many congratulations, Ameya.
Thank you. Hi, Shamla. Hi, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you
all
so
right.
much for inviting me and calling me here to share.
Yeah. So Ameya is a designer. He's a bookmaker. He's an author. He's an illustrator, and there's a lot of stuff about. Okay, we can just go on and on. But today we're going to be focusing on the book. So this is a beautiful book which has been released by Yali Books, New York, and it has a story of its own. It is a story of courage, patience, and determination to see this book published. Um, tell us all about the award. Can we see the seal? Where is this?
Yes,
Were you
for sure.
expecting it?
Honestly, no. So the book won the South Asian Book Award honor mention. So they have quite a few categories. So just a correction, it didn't win the South Asian Book Award, it won the honor mention. Yes, and this is the seal. So this is the silver
Bring it
seal
closer
that
to the screen.
yeah, they awarded to the
Yes,
honor.
lovely. How lovely, how lovely. Yeah, I got it, right. Yes. So do you feel the pressure now that you're won an award, a very major award with the first book? Do you feel the pressure in creating the second one? Are you like really conscious, oh my God, this should be as good as my first book or even better than that?
Sorry. Yeah, that's just my cat being himself. There is definitely some pressure. So I didn't start out being an author or an illustrator. It's just something which happened. So even with this book, it was my academic project, which eventually was turned into a published book. So there is still like that another added pressure with it being awarded this honor. Yes, definitely. Like I've started already, my mind has started churning on thoughts on what my next book could be around. So yes.
So I would like to share with my viewers that this book was the part of the thesis when Ameya was doing his final year project at IIT Bombay. And what started as a thesis project ended up as a book, as a published book, and all the way, it's come all the way from New York. So that's like really wonderful. At what point during the project did you feel that you have to start getting a wider audience, not just, this was not just an academic project?
All right. So again, like when I started doing my thesis, I wasn't very certain what the outcome would be. So my primary background as a designer, we are problem solvers, we are thinkers. So that's where I began from. So my thesis topic was on the visibility and representation of LGBT and queer characters in an Indian context. So during my thesis, I read up about it, I researched, I spoke to parents, I spoke to educators, and that's when I learned that the children, like where does homophobia come from? That was like sort of became like the crux of my thesis. That's a question or the problem statement that I came up with. And it sort of dawned upon me that children are not born with this mindset. They learn it from people. They pick it up from people around them on how they are treated. And that's how it boils down, the whole homophobic aspect. And it is like a playground reality of sort bullying. Like actual or perceived homosexuality, even in kids, it becomes an agenda for bullying a particular child. So even that was on my mind. So I wanted to sort of address that, and try to break that cycle of homophobia. Like children don't have that mindset; they are taught to be like that. And the best way I thought would be through storytelling, which led me to again exploring storytelling for children's literature in an Indian context. which I saw there were no books on this topic,
So
which sort of led me to.
Sorry, no, when you finished the project in 2016, I think there was just one book, and now there are just two books. So in a span of 3 years, yours is a third book. So that's how there's a big challenge in bringing out books on addressing the LGBT issue.
Right. So I never thought that my academic project would get published, but I was pushed by people in the industry. So during our jury, we had Deepa Belsavar come over, who sort of encouraged me to write to publishing houses. And that sort of got me thinking, okay, maybe my book has the potential to reach a wider audience. So I started writing to publishing houses. And that was back again, as you mentioned, in 2016. Publishing house, because homosexuality was still illegal in India, a lot of publishing houses did not want to go ahead on such a sensitive topic, partly because they wouldn't want to be associated with the controversy that such a book would attract, which sort of they were too polite, I feel. They didn't straight out reject me. So I got responses like, we have a publishing lineup for the next 3 years. So we'll pass on this book. Some of them did recommend me to other contacts. And that's how I came across Yali Books. And that's one more thing which I feel is important as authors or illustrators who are pitching books to publishers. It's so important to research on publishing houses. So initially, post my master's, I was just going by number. I would send my manuscript to as many publishing houses as I can. But it's so important to find a publishing houses that sort of resonates with your book. And with Yali Books, I felt the book found its home. I couldn't have got a better publisher.
I totally agree. So everything is very subtle in your book. There are no black painted negative protagonists as such. Everything is very very nicely, beautifully illustrated. What caught my eye was people expressing their anger. If you can, the viewers can just see this. So there are, there's nothing in these blurbs. It's just, anyone can just feel it. The anger is expressed and the mood and the scene is set. There's another page in the book where, the people, the angry people on big horses, they kind of take the spotlight. And then when things go back to normal, they are like, totally in the mood, in the sync with what's happening around. There is subtle expression which you've done. I think that's what I liked about your book. There's so much going on there, and it is open to interpretation.
So that again, so my first draft, that was during my thesis. I did work a lot with those metaphors, as you mentioned, the larger horses. So that picks up from the grown-ups on high horses, sort of looking down on the Baratis and making them feel very small. So that was one of the metaphors. Again, the second metaphor that you identified was those words. So that was one of the changes that we did during the Yali version. My original thesis book had words made of knives. That was the metaphor. And they were saying really mean things to these Baratis. It was again in a very rhyming format. But my publisher felt that, it might sort of be a very negative tone for the book. Do you want to proceed? But you can show it visually. And I thought that worked really well. It transcends languages. So it in any languages, it works visually. So I think that was a big aspect.
Is there
playing with the metaphor.
I have missed out? Which you tried to tell through pictures, which I have missed out? Communication.
Actually, so the third metaphor. So I had like 3 of these barriers. The first was the words made with knife. Second one, which you identified, was the horses. and the third one was literally raining down their parade with the hosing. So those
Yes.
are
Yes.
uh,
How did you think of that? You know, a hose during a Bharat, it's a rare occurrence.
right.
But I don't remember, it was not there in the first draft. Was it there?
So the water hosing was not there. So that replaced the original draft. So the original draft had a much darker, result outcome happening where the Baratis get hit by eggs, rotten eggs are thrown onto them. Again, that was a very strong sort of visual. The publisher felt maybe it wouldn't resonate with the audience since the book was published in US. They might not resonate with that sort of retaliation that you would face somewhere in India. And again, it would scare or scare the children away. So we thought maybe water would be more subtle, but it has that same sort of damaging aspect. And again, it plays a role in rain on their parade metaphor.
So one of the reasons.
The Bharat.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So the Bharat itself, I sort of wanted to draw a parallel to a pride parade, with the bride being on a horse and being bold. So I want to just dial back to one of the feedback I had got during my thesis. Why is the bride on the horse? Don't you feel you're pushing gender stereotypes by placing the bride on the horse? Because it's usually like the groom who would come on the horse. By making one bride. So that time the second bride was not on a horse. I hadn't even known the second bride, my previous draft. Like, is one of the brides, taking the more masculine role? Is that what you're trying to say? And I was like, no, that's not what I want to go ahead with. But I wanted to have that sort of, whimsical, the horse strong metaphor to be there, which my other alternatives of maybe placing the bride in a car wouldn't have had that same impact. Or like even an open car is what one of the other professors had suggested. So I thought maybe, I can, resolve the whole gender role issue by putting both the brides on the horses. So not one of them is trying to play that more masculine or the feminine role. Like
the turbans, the turban like Ghagra is a kind of a giveaway as to,
So there were a lot of these things which, as a designer and as an illustrator, also had to weigh in. Like thinking of how a particular element or the visual can be portrayed, and what meaning it can hold. So all those decisions also went while creating.
What also captured me was the artwork. I did some research and I realized that the tones you have used, it's called the jewel tone. I never knew that existed. So even the green, the red, the purplish thing, and the green, it's not that typical Indian leafy green. It's somewhere between the English green and the verdant green. So what made you choose this unusual jewel tone?
So again, I'm dialing back to the first version again. So because that was like the birth of this book, the way it reached to this format. The original draft only had 4 colors. With Yali, we added so many more colors and different tones for those 4. So my initial intent of the book was for it to reach as many people as possible. So I thought maybe using 4 colors, it could be screen printed. That's when I went on choosing these colors. So red and the gold were my obvious choice, first 2 choices for those amongst those 4 colors, since they're primarily associated with weddings in India. And to complement those colors, I brought in the green and the darker purplish tone. And that's how this 4 color scheme was formed. And eventually that, we got all these other colors and tones and shades extracted from those 4. Because it was it was going to be digitally printed.
So what about the art style? Does it conform to some part of India, or it's just a blend of what you know?
It's a blend of what I know. It's a very vector illustration style. It's one of the styles that I was familiar with. And again, during my thesis, like we have to do everything, right from writing to illustration. We have to don multiple hats. So I wouldn't identify myself as a writer or illustrator as my primary, profession. I'm a UI UX designer. These become like sort of my secondary skills. So I try to play to the best of my strengths. So it is like a mishmash of what I know.
It's come out so beautifully. There's this final scene in the book, the marriage ceremony. I thought this is like such a gorgeous spread. I just like to show it to the viewers.
Yeah.
There are candles on the top. There's it's this tiny details you bring out. There's a tiny photo right in front of the oven, and somebody's kept flowers right in front of it. And it's very inclusive. It has a diverse audience, and it has people of all ages. It kind of indicating the acceptance of the ceremony by people of varied ages. And there's this tiny detail you added of an elderly lady leaning in, and there is a man supporting her. So that's something rare. I don't find that in those sensibilities are not. How did you create that particular scene?
So when the second draft happened, this was one of the spreads that I changed completely. It wasn't there in the original draft at all. It's something new I created for the Yali version. And we did have a back and forth. I wanted there to be some text on the spread, but my publisher was saying, no, I think the image itself is so strong that it conveys what it needs to convey. You don't need any text on that spread. And I agreed with that eventually. I mean, yes, it's definitely one of my favorite spreads in the book. It's like a happy spread of all the family coming together. And when I think of weddings I have seen everybody comes and everybody is welcome. Nobody's stopped. And that's what I wanted to bring in. People of all ages, everybody is welcome in this.
Are you happy with the way the book has turned out? How has the reception been for this book in India and abroad? It's available in India right now through Amazon, right?
It's available in India on Amazon. Abroad also, it has received a lot of good feedback. Sales have been pretty great. I keep thinking, if the book would have been published in India, would it have had that good a response? But it's so amazing. I mean, I receive messages on social media from parents who are read it to their children, and I think that's the best validation for me when I hear actual feedback from parents who are saying what their children thought about it. I have had children draw two brides marrying, and that was such a beautiful moment. I was like, okay, wow, I feel like my job is sort of done. I wish more people follow in this and create more queer content, that people are exposed to.
Right. So when do you think is the right age to address the issue of homophobia with kids? I mean, I think what your book has done is absolutely beautiful. Address homophobia in a very subtle, safe, and approachable way.
I feel there's no right age as such because children have such innocent, pure minds. So even in the book, Aisha doesn't know what homophobia is. Yes. She doesn't even question the fact that why are two women getting married. So it's so normalized, and there's no need for it to be questioned. And that's what I liked about the minds of children. They're so pure and so innocent. Unless you put that thought in their head, okay, this is bad, this is different, anything different from what we define as normal as a society is bad. So I sort of wanted to move away from that and sort of push children to think on their own rather than telling them. I don't want to tell children this is right, this is wrong, but I want them to think, and figure out their own moral compass. That was my intention. So I don't feel there is a right or wrong age. I have not revealed a lot in terms of what goes on in queer relationship, etc. And then we think about the fairy tales which we have had, Sleeping Beauty, you have like kissing in there. Like nobody talks anything about that.
Yes.
But yeah, like, people usually like go hush hush when a sensitive topic like this is brought up for kids.
So have you read or attended any wedding of an LGBT couple? I
No,
asked this question.
unfortunately. So I did attend it myself, but during my book, I did wanted to do some research. So I talked to a few people, and I was surprised to find one person who had attended an Indian LGBT wedding, but which was held in Australia.
Oh,
But that did help me out in visualizing what sort of how the whole wedding aspect and decoration would look like. So during my time at IIT, I was exposed to the LGBTQ resource group on campus called Sathi. And actually, one of the ex-members did get married in a queer ceremony in Nashik or Nagpur, one of those two places. That was post, I think, 2019.
so I had read an article, I think it was on Times of India's first page a few years ago, and I thought that was the inspiration for your book, but it turned out, I was just cross-checking. So, do you think going forward we should be having more books which kind of help children grow into empathetic individuals?
Yes, definitely. Like children, like I feel children's book are like the windows to the outside world for kids. That's how they start learning about things around them. But if we show them that, okay, there are people who are different from the people who are there in an immediate vicinity, and they lead their lives, and you can learn about them. You can learn, take good things from their lives, be empathetic to them, respect them. Uh, and that's how they'll sort of adapt once they grow up to people around them and grow up to be kind individuals who respect everyone.
So did you have problem, choosing the ceremonies for the wedding? Because every wedding has like a jar ceremonies. Yours covers the tilak ceremony, the barat, the main wedding ceremony. Did you have to pick and choose? Did you have a hard time or were like very clear?
I did have a very hard time, and coming from India, where every region will have so many different ceremonies, I was trying to process like what needs to be picked up. So my starting point was the Bharat for sure. And that's how I sort of decided, okay, so the Bharat is very prominent in North Indian weddings. So I'm going to go with that aspect so that's why you'll see a lot of reds come into play. But it would have been nice to maybe do like a cross-cultural wedding of sorts as well. I keep thinking how that would have turned out. But to keep it, very accessible to everyone, and again, the audience in the US being more familiar with Bollywood, I sort of wanted to bring that aspect in as well. So that's how Bollywood and the Desi wedding, North Indian wedding, sort of became like a color palette.
So what can you tell us about your child protagonist? I mean, she's so bold, she's innocent, and she's absolutely what you call bindas.
Yes. So she's definitely inspired by a lot of my close female friends who are quite outspoken, I feel. There have been times when, I was not directly being bullied, but they have spoken up when, for me as well in certain I think all of those aspects of my friends have sort of come into Aisha's personality of being this very bubbly but still outspoken sort of kid.
There are these scandals in the book. Is that
yes.
To suit the American audience, or?
No, it's actually something which I observed at my friend Kanika's wedding.
Okay.
I was actually illustrating it, this particular cover page at that time. So it started off with the cover, these candles, and then they slowly creeped on into the other spreads as well. But this is something directly which I saw at one of my friend's wedding, and I was like, okay, this looks really beautiful. So a lot of references have come into play in the book in terms of the characters or in terms of all the elements around So there's one spread which I removed in the Yali version, which was then my original script. It was sort of like a map of from Ritu's house to the wedding venue and even Janni's house, which was sort of modeled around my neighborhood in Bombay. So all of these sort of like have inspired the book.
You know, I think you just enjoyed yourself creating the attires of the entire family. You know, so many different characters and so many different attires.
Yes.
Is this you know, you had this tiny pins or something which was
Yes, yes. So that was something which,
for the US
go
market.
ahead. Yes, so that was something which Ambika came up with. She was like, you know, we can do some sort of for the pre-orders, we can give them away some gift along with it. And I do have a huge pin collection actually. I own up to some 200 plus pins, lapel pins. So I thought, oh, okay, why not? Let's create this lapel pin. And then we sort of started thinking what could be the motive. And eventually we decided to go with the Mendi hands.
Yes,
Which sort of,
yes, yes.
We simplified it for the pin since a lot of tiny details needs to go in making those pins. And we added a small rainbow heart as well. So all the pre-orders, they got the pin.
Wow, lovely. So I think we've come to the end of our session. So quickly tell us why librarians and parents should take this book home. What is it that they should be, how they should be using this as a tool to teach children to be better individuals?
Definitely. So I feel there's a lot of work that needs to be done in this sphere of the whole LGBT community aspect, introducing them to children. I want this book to be a start where, you know, parents are comfortable enough to bring up this topic with their children, have conversations on it. Especially Indian parents, where even just talking about sex is such a taboo thing. So it doesn't even have to start off with the whole aspect of sex. It's just identity of whom you're attracted to, and they can begin taking these baby steps and sort of, you know, raise them to be open to everybody around them. I think that's something which will help us in the longer run if you're open, if you can have open conversations with your children.
Right. Thank you, Ameya. Thank you. So congratulations once again for Ritu with Chandni. So if you're watching this outside India, you can order it through Amazon.com and through independent stores. But if you are in India, then right now this is available at Amazon.in. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you.
Thank you so much.